Hey guys, welcome to Ham Radio with K0PIR and my YouTube channel. I've got the Icom 7610 here, and I'm going to set up the network, the date and time, and timers. Okay, here we go. We got the Icom 7610, and the first thing you want to do is set up the network. First, you need to connect your radio to your router. Now, there's a RJ45 port on the back of the radio. And what you want to do is connect a cable to it and run it to your router. Now, if your router is in a different room or in a different floor and you don't want to run a cable, you can use a wireless access point or bridge. I'll put a link below. What that allows you to do is connect wirelessly to your first router and then plug your radio in to that wireless access point, and you can have it sitting right next to your radio. So that's the first thing you want to do, is connect your radio to your router. The next thing you want to do is set up your network. And there's a couple of reasons to set up your network. One is so you can use the time server. So your radio syncs time and you always have an accurate time on your radio. And the second reason to be connected to a network is so you can operate remotely. Now I'm going to do it the easy way right now, and we're just going to set up the network for DHCP. First thing you want to do is hit the menu button and then go to Set and Network. Let me scroll up, and the first item is DHCP, and what this does, it allows the radio to pull an IP address and all this information from your router, so you don't have to set any of this stuff up. And if you're just going to use this to connect to a time server, this is the way I would do it. It's less hassle. Now I've got mine set up so I can use a static IP and I can operate remotely using RSBA1. And I think that's probably the way to go if you're going to operate remotely. Use a static IP. But for the purposes of this video, we're just going to do DHCP. The next screen, you want to set up a network name, and I named mine work group. That is the work group name that's on my computer. Valid after restart, I have that set to on because I was using it for remote. You can have it set to off if you're not going to be operating remotely. The rest of this, I believe it's all the default. And then on this page, the internet access line, you want to tell it where you get your internet from, and the choices are FTTH, which is fiber optic, or cable TV or DSL. I get mine through cable. The rest of this, you can set up the radio name, but that comes into play when you're using it remotely. And also the network users, you'd have to set that up if you're going to operate remotely. But that's a whole nother video. So once you get your network set up, I'm going to exit out of here. Go back to the main screen. You have to power cycle it. Power off your radio. Give it a few seconds. And then power it back on. And once it comes back on, it's going to take it a few minutes, maybe 2 or 3 minutes, maybe longer, to pull an IP from your router. And one way to test that is to go into Menu, Set, and Time Set. And we want to get the date and time. You can set up the date and time manually, and that probably works just fine. I'm sure it keeps pretty good time. But since we have it connected to the network, I can hit NTP, and it says please wait, and then it says time sync completed. If you get a fail on there, give it a few more minutes. And then if you still get a fail on there, check the lights on the RJ45 port on your router and see if you have lights on it. Okay, here we are back at the time set. We have the date and time set, and we want to make sure we enter the UTC offset. This first clock is the one that's on the top when you're looking at the main screen on your radio, and the offset for me is 5 hours. And in the winter time it'll change to 6 hours. I have to go back in and manually change that when we switch over, so be mindful of that. And then the second clock, I have mine set up for UTC. So the first clock is my Central Daylight Time and military time, and the second one is UTC clock. And of course the UTC offset would be 0, and then I named the clock UTC. You could set up that second clock. I was thinking about setting it up for Pacific time, and it's easy enough to do. Just go in and change the UTC offset and name the clock Pacific time. Okay, let's go back a screen, and I think that just about covers it. Let's take a look at the clock, and you'll see my top clock up there is military time, Central Daylight, and the one below it is UTC. One of the really nice features of the Icom 7610 is the timer. And there are actually two timers. You have a sleep timer where it'll power the radio off after a predetermined time, say at 2 hours, it'll turn itself off. And then the second type of timer is where you can set it up to turn the radio on and turn it off at a predetermined time. Now I run a net at 6 o'clock in the morning on Thursday. So I had my radio come on an hour before, a couple hours before. I can lay in bed and listen to the radio and listen to the guys on before I even get out of bed. And I like that feature. So let me show you how I have it set up. The first thing you want to do before you use that second type of timer is to set up a memory channel. And I've got a few in there, but I don't have one set up for this frequency. This is the YL system. And I usually start hearing them about 11 o'clock in the afternoon, and then I usually lose them around 3 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So let me show you how to set that up. We want to set up a memory first, and we're going to hit the menu and go to memory, and let's see, I don't have it in here. It would be, there's a free one there. Let me go ahead and set it up for channel 13. Just hold that down and then hit memory right and then yes, and that's it. So it's number 13. Now that we have the memory set up, we can go into the timer and set up the schedule for it. So to do that, just hold down the timer button and the timer menu pops up. Here's the sleep timer. If you want it to turn off in a couple hours, you can just set it and it'll turn it off for you. Hit set, and it's got 70 minutes remaining. The problem with that is every time the radio turns off, it clears. So I haven't used it. I haven't found a really good use for it. So we're going to set up that memory channel in here, and we're going to set it up on this free one. Just tap that, and I'm on the top page there. And the timer status, well, we want to turn it on. The reservation timer, I want it to come on at 11 o'clock. And then power off, I want to turn it off after 4 hours. And then the main channel, that would be that number 13. Set that. We don't need to do that. What day of the week? Let's say I'm going to be here on Mondays. I'm going to do it on Mondays. Let's go down to the next page and repeat. We want to do repeat. Now for this to save, you have to hit set. Set timer, yes. There we go. Now I'm set up. The YL system will come on at 11 o'clock in the morning on Monday and turn off at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And we have 5 of these that we can set up. So that about does it. And for your timer to work, that needs to be illuminated. So even when you power your radio off, it will stay illuminated. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share. Tell your friends. 73 and good DX.